Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello, my name is Putri Indah Oktavia. I'm the fourth semester of Department of English Education, Faculty of Educational Sciences, Syarif Hidayatullah, State Islamic University, Jakarta. Today, I would like to tell you an article review that I have ever read. There are 10 articles, so I would like to tell you one by one of each article. The first one is racial ethnic differences in children's access to care. And the second article is gender and competition at a young age. The third article is educational achievement, language minority students, and the new second. The third is educational achievement, language minority students, and the new second generation. The fourth is how shall a thing be called? The fifth is why are you learning a second language? Motivational orientation and self-determination theory. The sixth is when learning a second language doesn't mean losing the first. Bilingual language development in low-income Spanish-speaking children attending bilingual preschool. The seventh is expanding the motivation construct in language learning. The eighth is variation, ambiguity, and noun classes in English. The ninth is what is academic vocabulary. And then the last, that is the 10th, what do people think they are doing? Action, identification, and human behavior. Now, I will tell you one by one what is being concerned in each article. So, for the first is racial or ethnic differences in children's access to care. The purpose of this article is to explore reasons for racial and ethnic differences in children's usual sources of care. The data shows race or ethnic in children's access to care is caused by three factors. Those are health insurance status, socioeconomic status, and language ability. They compared the children from Hispanic, Black, Asian, and White, and all under 18 years old. Then for the second is gender and competition at a young age. The main goal of this research is to identify the different performance between female and male in running competition. Is it true that males' abilities are stronger than girls? The report conducted by the author is using the result of running speeds of males and females as the variable of this research. Then the third is educational achievement, language minority students, and the new second generation. This article concerns in the major factors that are influencing the educational achievement of the second generation. Study shows that the population of this second generation is rising drastically, and Asian students achieve higher scores than native people in United States. The policy of improving the students' balance as the achievement of value in this school influences the future economic success. Then the fourth is how shall a thing be called? This article concerns in the way how adults determine to children about the name of things. Study shows that most of adults are explain a thing's name to children by considering of its frequency in its use and the monosyllable and polysyllable. The writer said that the reason why adults are doing this is because they believe that children have trouble in pronouncing a long syllable. So they will be easier to pronounce the shorter one. So let's move to the fifth. It is why are they learning a second language? Motivational orientation and self-determination theory. The study has two purposes. First is a new instrument for assessing learning the second language orientation from a self-determination perspective in presented. And relation between the various subtypes of motivation and variable hypothesized to be related to variation in self-determination are examined. Second, given that these motivational subtypes can contribute to the understanding of the results found in studies of orientation. The sixth is when learning a second language doesn't mean losing the first. Bilingual language development in low-income Spanish-speaking children attending bilingual preschool. The results of the studies is offered no evidence of Spanish proficiency loss for children attending bilingual preschool. Children who attended bilingual preschool showed significant and parallel gains in Spanish language development as well as significant and greater increases in English language proficiency over time. Then the second is expanding the motivation construct in language learning. The main goal of this research is to identify the relation of a number of new measures of motivation. The report conducted by authors is the result of their investigation of French language dominance, French grade, and essay writing. The eighth is variation, ambiguity, and non-classes in English. In this article, the writer concerns in the way how a sentence could be as a variation and ambiguity meaning. Study shows that many sentences have different meaning from one from that makes itself become ambiguous. Yet there are many forms that actually have one meaning. The ninth is what is academic vocabulary? In this article, the authors concerned in the definition of academic vocabulary and they want to specify resources and processes for identifying academic words to teach by comparing and contrasting from many theories. The writers declared that researchers, writers, and theorists tend to define academic vocabulary in one of two ways. First is as the main specific academic vocabulary that refers to the content-specific terms and expressions found in content area, textbooks, and other technical writing. The second is general academic vocabulary that is used to refer to words that appear in text across several disciplines or academic domains. And the last is what do people think they are doing? Action identification and human behavior. In this article, the authors concern in the theory of action identification. People always seems to be doing something. They also seems to be quite adept at identifying what they are doing. Study shows that the action's purpose is to occupy the highest level in such hierarchies, whereas subordinate levels to subdivide this goal into progressively a more concrete representation. Until a level is reached that specifies the actual movement to be undertaken. So now I will discuss the relation in each article that I have ever read. Those articles are not mostly research. There are few that articles are non-research, such as in how shall a thing be called is a non-research. So there are no variable or example that include in the article. The first relation is from the method. Almost all of the article is using the same method, that is taking an example from students in somewhere and then they make them as a sample for their research. And then for the discussion is those articles are mostly talk about the language, whether it for the second language or the first language or from the vocabulary, and only a few that are out of the discussion of language, such in racial or ethnic differences in children access to care. Actually, in this article is also talk about the language, but the main subject is not the language, it is the racial ethnic in itself. So that's all my article review. Thanks for watching, and finally I say Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.